to us. Get right back to that third one in just a moment. Let me bring you back up to speed on this issue. While H5N1, of course, as you've been hearing, doesn't easily infect people, H3N2 does. It's real easy. So if somebody exposed to a mixture of both of them, which is exactly what was in the Baxter International sample vaccines, had been simultaneously infected with both of the strains, he or she could have served as the perfect human incubator for a hybrid virus, which would be able to transmit easily to anybody. Pandemic time. That is a mixing process, which we call recombination here. Now, here's what I've been able to find just scanning. Baxter, as you've heard from both our guests tonight, hasn't said much of anything, not publicly, on how the alleged accident not happened. Earlier this week, they were called, and they tried to explain it away by saying it was, quote, just the process itself and technical and human error in the procedure, end quote. But the Baxter rep wouldn't say any more because he said it might reveal proprietary information. This is so obvious what's going on here, Bill Deagle.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's several facts, and we're going to continue this dialogue tomorrow with Dr. Ott and Alexander in the first hour of the NutriMedical Report, which they can hear on Genesis the 2 to 3. And we're going to continue hammering this story, if necessary, every day and getting further contacts, further information. If you're a whistleblower, get in touch with us because we need this information out. You can go to NutriMedical.com, that's N-U-T-R-I, medical.com, or Clay and Iron. And as I get documents literally hourly, any hour of the day or night, I'm going to post them because this story is the big one. This is what they're going to do, more than likely than even a nuclear event, in order to chip the population, start the vast population reduction which is planned. At the same time, and it's interesting with the connecting the dot points that Dr. Ott's put together, it connects directly to Baxter, and you have some amazing questions, and a couple of them show what connections does Baxter hold to the avian flu vaccines that would brought Mr. Obama as a junior senator in before the Senate Ethics Committee. And who are the connections between, you make this question, Alexander, between the director there of Baxter and her connections directly with some very unsavory people involved in this whole process.
I have some smoking guns for that. I have photographs of the woman. Her name is Gail, I can't remember her last name, Gail Fossler.
F-O-S-L-E-R, yeah.
Yeah, if you go to Google Images, and they may have taken them down, but I have copies of them. I saved locally.
Who does Gail work for?
She is on something called the Conference Board. Okay. And basically, if you search on Google Images Gail Fossler and sort of scroll down and scroll around, you will find this woman in meetings with high-level Chinese Communist Party officials, but the meetings are occurring outside of government context. They occur through something called the Conference Board. I haven't had time to research exactly what the Conference Board is, but I mean, just the sheer fact that this Baxter director is meeting with the Chinese leadership at the same time the United States is going into receivership, and then we also have this, potential pandemic, quote, contamination over in 16 or 18 labs in 3 countries. It's just a bit too much.
You can count on the potential that the Conference Board is outside of any oversight for sure. Whatever that platform
Gail Fossler is also a member of the Council on Foreign Relations.
Oh, okay.
And she was also affiliated with the New York Federal Reserve.
Oh, good. All right, all in the family, folks, one more time.
Oh, yeah, and if you look at the dots here from Dr. Ott, there's direct connections with all of the people that are involved with the Baxter bailout. Everything is all tied. I believe they're doing a controlled demolition of the economy. At the same time, they're getting ready to release a pandemic.
Well, they're going to call the herd and, sure, bring down the whole mechanism so they can reestablish it into their new vision.
And this is not a theory.
Order. Yeah. No, it's no theory. This is no accident. Now, if they, we'll just forgive the use of the term, want to combine, H3N2 and H5N1, they can do it with people. They don't need to do it this way with a mass vaccination program. There are other ways to do it. So just because this was discovered, friends, don't rest easier. There are many ways to do this.
No, in fact, one of the comments by Tisler, who is the spokesperson, there are 6 international companies that are licensed internationally to create these different super vaccines.
Right. Well, they call them super vaccines, but in reality, they're super bioweapons.
Right. In fact, the latest one, and this is one of the story we're also tracking, is that there's a binary vaccine, meaning 2 stages. They're giving an RNA vaccine to our troops that are circulating to the Gulf and Afghanistan.
I've heard that.
Circulate.
Yep.
And they've also given reports that they're going to vaccinate all of the county sheriffs across the United States with the cooperation of the state health departments of every state, and also Homeland Security, and vaccinating all of their family with these binary vaccines, meaning the first phase is RNA, and then they think that they'll have a response within less than 1 week by the second phase. But I believe they're actually turning this into a race-specific bioweapon. So when they give them the second shot, they can either make them live, they can make them sick, or they can make them die very quickly with the second shot.
Well, remember, SARS was Asia-specific all the way, and that was an early-on indication. I remember seeing the picture in the Canadian newspaper of all the Canadian SARS deaths. Most of those occurred in hospital settings. There were over 100 deaths, and I think all but 3 or 4, maybe 5, were Asian. And I knew right then and there it was an Asia weapon. It was obviously an Asian-specific weapon. These things, they're so far ahead of us, folks. Whatever you think they can do, add 20 years, add 30 years to it. It's all doable. And
maybe you can add what, in your imagination, centuries ahead of what you think.
Sure, it's all possible.
Yeah.
Alexander, go ahead. Anything else you want to add on the...
Sure, I would. Actually, if you look, I believe it what is a Project for New American Century document called Rebuilding America's Defenses. I believe in that particular document there is a reference to bioweapons, specifically race-specific bioweapons, saying that they would be a politically useful tool. And I'm not sure of the exact paper out of PNAC. I believe it is, quote, Rebuilding America's Defense.
Yeah, that's a public document. Now, I've mentioned this before on the program, Jeff, in the last couple of years, that I personally received the documents from Human Life International smuggled out of the World Health Organization March 16th, 1997, and these documents, they give me inches of them, that actually stated specifically they were going to create a race-specific super avian flu using a bioengine and taking the H1N1, which is the recombinant of WSN33 pig flu and the Iowa pig flu strain. And when you do this with dynamic evolution, what they know is it creates a super strain that's far more lethal than either one. And this is how, when they vaccinated the troops, they carried this weaponized strain to Spain. So it was created literally back before the First World War by passing through pigs. Now, they can create this super strain in ferrets, pigs, birds, and then it's far more lethal, and it can then dock in human cells. But they're actually getting this ready, and I believe that this documents that I received was the reason why I'm so determined to get the truth out about this, because I know this is their ultimate weapon to change civilization and to chip and track every individual in the world.
Change it, they're going to reduce it by as much as they want.
And the remainder will be completely tracked in a feudal system with no property and in a total feudal scientific dictatorship.
Yep, absolutely. Now, those out there listening are probably thinking, all right, well, wait a minute. If they're going to turn this loose, they must have an antidote. They must have an actual vaccine that will protect them from this. They can't rely on Tamiflu, which, of course, most of this is now Tamiflu resistant. So what is your best take on that, Alexander? Do they have a protective mode that they can use?
They must. They must.
Course.
Now,
the
technology is so advanced, there's a number of things they could be relying on. I suspect they're probably relying on more than one thing in case something goes wrong. There is one thing that I'm pretty sure that they will be relying on, at least as a backup, and this is an influenza polymerase inhibitor manufactured in Japan by Toyama Pharmaceutical. It prevents death from most H5N1. It doesn't appear to be toxic. But the thing with this, it's entered phase 3. But the thing is, they're being very secretive about it. Like, you cannot get this drug manufactured anywhere. It's not the sort of thing that you can, like, you or I could order from China and get ourselves some doses. This stuff is on lockdown, basically.
Wow.
This is right out of the script, by the way, from V for Vendetta. This is exactly the script for V for Vendetta.
I got to go watch that again.
Yeah, where they're basically the company that makes and releases this bioweapon owns the drug that counteracts the death caused by it, and then becomes the feudal dictator of this